What's going on, guys? JSGC here, and we are here for another Manchester City and football video. This time we're going to be having a little look at the Etihad Stadium and some latest ticket news and ticket information, basically, with things like that. Now, first we've got to say that I had a request to do a little bit on the update for the North Stand expansion. There isn't a lot of news in that, but I do have little things happening or flickering around with terms of the stadium, so I'm going to cover that in this video. And first up, I did say yesterday on yesterday's video that I was going to talk about ticket prices and a general ticket discussion. So that's kind of what this video is, and hopefully it shouldn't be too long. So we're going to crack on with this video, and first up we're going to be talking about the Champions League match coming up, particularly the home game against Tottenham Hotspur for the second leg. Now, in my opinion, prices for this game are wrong. £45 for the cheapest ticket for non-season ticket prices for an adult. It was £30 against Schalke in the last 16. For the quarterfinals, it's gone up to £45. Now, if I'm being truthfully honest, if you go to quarterfinals of Champions Leagues at any other club, then the ticket prices are probably going to be a lot more expensive than £45. So £45 isn't a bad deal. However, that doesn't take into account what's happening for this game, and Manchester City are nowhere near selling this game out, and I have a lot of doubt that this game will even sell out, and a Champions League quarter-final should just not be the case. So I'm going to discuss why that isn't so, and in future, so semi-finals and quarter-finals in future seasons and things like this happen, I'm going to discuss how the club can go about avoiding such a scenario of it not selling out. And so I feel like even though £45 is cheap, it could have been cheaper. Now, I feel like a lot of City fans, they're kind of being made to choose between this Tottenham Hotspur game, because it isn't included in your season ticket price, or the match at Wembley for the FA Cup semi-final. And so some fans are going to this and not that, and other fans are going to that and not this game, if you get where I'm coming from. And so it's a lot of money. And considering Manchester City are been in 4 competitions this season, and we're still in all 4 competitions, we've already won 1 cup, and we're still going in the Premier League, we're still in the Champions League, we're still in the FA Cup, we've got a lot of games coming up, and so throughout the whole of April we've got so many games coming up, it's just very expensive for fans to be able to follow Manchester City both home and away, and particular in Europe too. And so fans kind of have to sacrifice games, and so you're asking yourself, £45 might be cheap for a quarter-final, however it isn't cheap when you've got loads of other games to go to too. And so I feel like the club got this pricing a little bit wrong. I feel like if they charged maybe £30 like they did against Schalke, then the attendance would probably be a lot better. It's not fleecing the fans as much, if you get where I'm coming from. And so the club could have done just that little bit more. Obviously you've got things like marketing and promotion and all them things, but at the end of the day there just isn't lots of demand from Manchester City fans for the Champions League. They don't like UEFA, they don't feel part of UEFA's whole system. We know the bias is always there for other clubs, so in particular Real Madrid and Barcelona, for example, that the bias is always there, and so you always feel like you're going up against it, and it's not helped matters with things that's gone on with things like racism and Manchester City being punished because of it, even though we've not been racist, and it was actually CSK in Moscow that time. You've got other situations like they're always investigating Manchester City, even though we've already been found guilty, taken the fine and done that, they've opened up investigations again, and it's just helping fans just feel that little bit more disinterested in the competition. And so demand isn't really there, so if there's to charge cheaper prices, that might be able to get a little bit more demand from other people, from other Manchester City supporters from further out. It might even tempt in some neutrals and stuff like that. You get that in the Champions League, you do. And so at the end of the day, you're faced with a second leg match, Manchester City against Tottenham Hotspur, an all Premier League clash, a big clash, everything on the line, and so it may not sell out, and so it's a bit strange. So I feel like the club just got the pricing a little bit wrong. I did say £30. £30 is still a lot of money, I will add. A lot of Manchester City fans are working class, and so I feel like the club shouldn't have been fleecing the fans here, but instead they should have maybe charged a little bit cheaper prices. I was planning on going to this game if they'd charged £30. I do have a principle. My principle is I don't want to pay more than £30 for any football match, no matter if it's Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup, League Cup or whatever. Unless it's a final, I could probably go, what, £40? I can forgive if it's a final. It's a big game. It's a once-in-a-lifetime kind of situation. Whereas this game isn't a once-in-a-lifetime. It's a match that everyone's seen before. This isn't Messi or Ronaldo or world-class football players that's never graced the Premier League. This is a game that we've already played several times before in previous seasons. And so, yeah, I feel like the club perhaps should have got the pricing a little bit better for this game. And like I said, to conclude, I feel like they've kind of made fans pick between Wembley or this game. And so in the end, we're going to end up probably selling out neither. But speaking of Wembley, we're going to move on to the FA Cup. Now for me, Few situations on why this probably won't sell out. I feel like the kickoff time's all wrong. There needs to be more clarity on trains. Fans don't know if this goes to extra time and penalties, whether they're even going to be able to get home if they're going on the trains. Trains are ridiculously expensive. If you don't know how much trains are in this country, then you must be looking, it's not advance fare, so it's impossible to be able to book this in advance to get it cheap. And so you'll be looking at a lot of money in being able to get down to London and facing the prospect of not even being able to come home because they made it a 5:30 kickoff, which is a bit strange. Brighton's got something similar. I think they've got some rail replacement buses on and things like that, but considering the distance they're having to travel, Brighton to get to Wembley isn't anywhere near as far as what it is for Manchester City fans in being able to get to Wembley, and so the fans have kind of shunned it off and gone, no, I'll wait and I'll save my money to get to the final. And bringing on to the final, I felt like the club perhaps, even though I agree with the ticketing system for this game, which is unusual for me of Manchester City to agree with a thing, it went on to general sale rather quickly, so everyone's had plenty of time, plenty of notice to be able to put plans in motion to be able to get to the game. I do feel like the club, however, perhaps if they wanted to guarantee this match sell out, then add a priority for the FA Cup final. Obviously, you've got people on the cup schemes that should have the priority, they're paying for that privilege, but once you get down to it, when you're getting onto season ticket sales, perhaps people that's attended the FA Cup semi-final too get some kind of priority so they could get to the FA Cup final too. Then you watch them tickets for the semi-final fly off the shelves. However, you do face the prospect of fans not being able to get to Wembley that might not necessarily ever get a chance to, so I'm talking members and general sale. However, you've got competitions coming up like the Community Shield if Manchester City should get into it. We've been in it several times. The League Cup final went on to general sale. There's more opportunities for more general sale and membership sales for Wembley. And so I feel like the club could have done a little bit more. And so I feel like they've got that wrong. The club have, however, provided half price travel for people to get to Wembley. So instead of it costing £40 to go on the Thomas Cook coach, it's costing £20, which is a good touch by the club. And so, yeah, I'm not too sure why there's not loads and loads of demand here. I presume it's down to the kick-off time, which is outside of the club's control. And so I don't see how the club could have done a lot more for this game. So it's a bit disappointing. Obviously, it's Brighton's big game because they've not been to Wembley that many times. I don't think it's their first time at Wembley, but it's still a big match for them, and it's an opportunity for them to get to the FA Cup final. And so it's a great day out for them, but it's a situation where Manchester City have just been here loads of times before, and the novelty's wearing off. And so it's, yeah, I feel like fans don't want to shun Wembley and FA Cups, but with the kick-off times and things like that, makes it a little bit awkward. Perhaps it should have been an earlier kick-off. I missed a good old 3 o'clock. That'd have been accessible for everybody, but they're not going to do that, are they? So yeah, I just feel like it was awkward for the League Cup final. That was 4:30, so 5:30's even worse. You're facing fans not even being back till, what, midnight, unless you fancy speeding down the M1 or M6, whichever direction you want to head into. So yeah, pretty strange for the FA Cup, but I don't really see what more the club could have done for this one, but yeah, there you go. Now just some general talking points. So I'm talking home match atmosphere. I mean, I've covered this before in previous videos too. So you're just looking for a little bit more organisation from the supporters group. So we've done a wonderful job so far, in my opinion. So we always get displays and flags for big cup finals and for big Champions League games. So I don't know if it's financially viable for them to be able to do that on a more regular basis, particularly at the Etihad Stadium, to help generate a little bit more atmosphere, to help people feel involved, that each game's unique to Manchester City, no matter what competition. But like I said, I don't know if that's financially doable or not, but there we go. We're also relying on things like safe standing. That'd help maybe bring in 1 or 2 thousand more fans to be able to stand and have a good time with the mates or whatever. I presume a lot of Manchester City fans, particularly ones that have grown up with Manchester City from an early age, so I'm talking people that are probably well into the 20s now, that will have been able to have walked upon Main Road and the Etihad and kind of just pay on the day with your mates, a few of your mates, be able to stand or sit with each other and be able to have a good time, whereas obviously more and more demand, particularly for the big games, that just isn't probably doable. But yeah, I feel like if they brought safe standing in, people would be able to stand and be able to help kind of get back to them days, if you get where I'm coming from. So it might just be able to boost the atmosphere a little bit more in the Etihad Stadium, where that safe standing could be. Who knows? Like I said, I've done thingies before in the past, so we're talking surveys with the club, asking where they'd want to put safe standing, where's a good place. They've talked about, I think they talked, was it the North Stand expansion up there, or they're going to put it there, make the ticket prices cheaper. I'm not too sure, but I feel like one of the indications I'm getting from this is that season ticket holders currently at Manchester City would be interested in this because the season ticket prices would be cheaper, and so new fans that are coming in that have been on the waiting list, or are members, or people that go on general sale that want want to become members and season ticket holders are then going to have to fill in the seats of these other season ticket holders that's gone to the cheaper sections. So their price, when they're getting quoted like £300 for a season ticket, which is a fantastic deal, by the way, it's just not going to happen, and so the price is going to be like £500-600, which when you think you're paying £300 and it's all of a sudden nearly double that, again, it's not doable and you feel like you're being fleeced. And so perhaps the club could put some priority to new fans or new season ticket holders, a certain proportion of them, to be able to go into the cheaper tickets, so they've got a chance there to be able to get the cheaper tickets rather than just giving. Obviously the club should have some priority for fans that are already there, that are showing loyalty to the club, but kind of meet all fans halfway and try and please some and not others. You're not going to please everybody, but try and please as many people as possible, in my opinion. And so I feel like that's one way to go. Other terms of atmosphere, I mean, you might be looking at one big stand like Spurs have done with a new stadium. I've been told that it's not doable for the club to be able to do that, but it might be possible for them to be able to put 2 tiers together, and so you have like a first tier and then a second tier that's very big, and that might help create atmosphere. Again, where's that going to go? Would you be looking at the North Stand? Would you be looking at the South Stand? If it's going to go in the North Stand, they're kind of going to have to rebrand the North Stand, so it becomes kind of like the South Stand, because a lot of people kind of try and create atmosphere into the South Stand, and so it feels like a little bit of a home to them, and you get to have a lot of banter with the away fans, and so it's all fun and games. Does it contribute to the atmosphere? Well, it does a little bit, and obviously you'd still be able to do that with the away fans there, but being able to filter a little bit more noise from the North Stand and rebrand it so it's not like the family stand, and perhaps move the family stand to somewhere else, might help a little bit of atmosphere. Like I said, there's lots of ways of doing this. The club's always doing surveys, so if you are members at Manchester City, season ticket holders and regular match goers, you do get the opportunity to partake in these surveys. So if you do get the chance, then do let your thoughts be known. Obviously I've requested before in the past having a look at perhaps making things a little bit cheaper for fans and in general tickets and stuff like that, particularly for matches where there isn't as lot of demand, like that Tottenham game, for example, where I think that the prices are just a little bit too expensive. Could have been cheaper. And one other thing you might be looking at the overall general experience of the game for themselves. So obviously fans descend upon the Etihad, they go into the stadium, watch the football match, then leave, and so you're looking for them to have a good time. And so how do you do that? The club's done things like putting entertainment on, they put bars outside of the stadium to be able to do them things, which is all good, and that's what you're looking for. Perhaps people are looking for a little bit more, I do not know. I've been to grounds in Europe where they do none of that, and the atmosphere is still good, so I don't feel like it contributes too much to the atmosphere. Again, we'll hit on that good old money and price of things, so you're always looking for things to be a little bit cheaper. I find in general things like food and drink tend to be more along the prices of Wembley prices rather than up north prices, and so again you're looking for fans to pay a lot of money for pies and pints, and they do things like burgers, and to be honest, you'll get change from a tenner, but you won't get a lot of it. I've been to other grounds, I've been to lots of grounds, particularly in the lower league, and so I've seen good deals where they've done things like pie and pint for things like £6, so you're coming out with change from a tenner, so you're looking at £4 or £5 change, rather than looking at things like maybe £1 or £2 at the very most if you are lucky. And so they could maybe have a look at the pricing structure of that and try and make things just a little bit cheaper to try and encourage more people to put more money into Manchester City as a way of making money. But you're not talking lots and lots of money there. I'm just talking from a fan perspective that you're looking to always try and make a little bit more money, and so that would help be able to create a little bit more for the fans there. And so yeah, that's my conclusion for this basically, is just to try and make a little bit things a little bit more cheaper and try and make things a little bit more fairer for fans, and from doing that you might be able to push for a little bit more demand. The problem we've got at Manchester City, I've seen a lot more younger fans with Manchester City tops on these days. Whether they continue to support Manchester City is another factor. However, seen it a lot when I was growing up, a lot of Manchester United and Liverpool fans in particular, so you're getting a lot more Manchester City fans. You might be looking at these fans that are supporting City that might be 8, 9, 10 years old, that might want to go to the Etihad in 5 to 10 years, and so you need to make sure that the demand is there. So the ability to be able to get tickets, in my opinion, is a great thing, and people always mock Manchester City for empty seats and not selling out the stadium and things like that, but it's absolutely wonderful if you don't have the opportunity to get to that many games, that you are able to go to these games and you're able to see wonderful football, and you're able to see wonderful games, you're able to see some of the biggest games. I mean, look, bar the Liverpool and Manchester United match, and maybe a huge Champions League match like a semi-final, for example, if you're playing Real Madrid or Barcelona, all the other matches throughout the season you should be able to get tickets for, and people mock Manchester City for that, but I think that's a wonderful chance and a wonderful opportunity for lots of Manchester City fans to be able to do that. And if the club just made it a little bit cheaper, then the job's a good one because you've got happy fans, you've got a happy club. The club, it's not a huge amount of money for the club. I mean, the club isn't solely reliant upon making loads and loads of money off ticket sales, and so in my opinion it's unnecessary, but there we go, it is my opinion. So I'd love to know your opinion, so let me know your opinions in the comments below. Sorry the video's dragged on a little bit. I've tried to keep it as brief and as short as possible, so I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. We've got plenty more Manchester City and football videos coming up over the coming weeks with all these games coming up, so if you're interested, make sure you press the red button, make sure you subscribe, press the bell, put your push notifications on to be notified when I have uploaded. If you are interested in following me on social media, the links to them are in the description below for my Twitter and Instagram, as well as on the screen if you want to go and search for me and follow me on there. Thank you everyone for watching the video, thank you for the support, and I'll see you all again for the next video. So it's been JSGC. I hope you'll have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace. Ciao for now.